On this mission, we will learn how to perform a taxi and a takeoff on the Saab JAS 39C, Gripen, following the procedure indicated by this mod's developers. The checklist includes the following sections: before taxi, taxi, before takeoff, takeoff, initial climb. The approximate mission time is 10 minutes, and ends when you have climbed above 5,000 feet. Press spacebar to begin. If the cockpit interior is too dark, activate the flashlight with left Alt plus L. If the yellow cross cursor is not visible, press left Alt plus left Shift plus C, to show it. You can adjust the sound volume produced by the background air traffic, by moving the in-cockpit sound slider, on the DCS options, audio screen, which you can access by pressing the Escape key. This instructor volume level can be adjusted with the helmet sound slider. Also, you can press spacebar to skip long voiceovers. We will contact the air traffic controller, ATC, to request clearance to taxi. The Gripen uses the same simplified DCS communications that the Flaming Cliffs aircrafts use, which do not require us to tune the radio frequencies. We can reach the ATC simply by pressing the communications key, the \, but on the Gripen you can also press the COM1 button on the upfront control panel instead. Go ahead and press either. On the communications menu, select F5, ATC, F1, Saipan International, F3, Request Startup. Unfortunately, DCS does not detect that our aircraft is already started, so we must request startup again even if it's not needed. The communications menu should be still open. Select F1, Request Taxi to Runway. After a few seconds, the ATC should clear you to taxi to a designated runway. Take note of the runway that has been assigned. On this mission, ATC should assign runway 25. For this mission, we will taxi towards runway 25 via runway 06, which is used as taxiway. On the left is a diagram of the route you will have to follow. On the briefing, there is a diagram of this airbase, for your reference. Advance the throttle until the RPM are a little over 70%, release brakes if held and let the aircraft move straight ahead slowly. Once the aircraft is moving, press the wheel brakes to test them, using your toe brakes or the key you assign to the wheel brakes. Good, now release the brakes, increase throttle and begin to taxi again. Once the desired taxi speed is reached, retard throttle a bit. You can steer the aircraft using nose wheel steering, with your rudder pedals, or the key C and X. Good, now turn slightly right, and proceed south, towards the Street C. Be careful of other traffic that may be near you. Street C is just ahead, you should be able to read the sign. Proceed, and turn left once you reach the runway 06. Good, you are now on runway 06. Proceed on the heading of 67 degrees, along its center line. Do not exceed 30 knots while taxiing, or the aircraft can tip over when turning. Also, the nose steering gets too sensitive at higher speeds. We are nearing the end of runway 06, reduce speed and turn right onto Street E. You are now almost at the runway 25. Stop just short of entering it and call ATC for clearance. Good. Now contact ATC, using the communications menu. Select F1. Request takeoff. Once ATC has given clearance, increase throttle, turn right to enter the runway, align with its center line, and stop the aircraft for a final check. DCS has a bug which sometimes prevents the ATC from transmitting his clearance, so, if the ATC does not answer, increase throttle, and turn right to enter the runway anyway. Align with its center line, and stop the aircraft for a final check. Once you are aligned with the runway center line, bring the aircraft to a halt. You are not properly aligned with the runway. Increase throttle to over 70% and try to align again. Now that you're still and properly aligned on the runway, you should perform a brief before takeoff check. 4.1. Canopy. Confirm it's closed and locked. 4.2. Seat. Arm, by pushing the highlighted lever down. 4.3. Landing lights. Change from taxi to landing lights. 4.4. APU running. Check. On the Gripen, the APU switch stays on, through the whole flight. The APU will automatically enter a standby mode, a short while after takeoff, where the green light will turn off, but the switch stays in the on position. At touchdown, the APU will automatically become active again. The only situation you would flip the switch off during flight, is if you're performing a touch and go and don't want to upset the APU.
Passing waypoint 4 at 2,500.
4.5. Speed brakes. Confirm they are closed.
2,500. Uzi 1, on station at bullseye 297 for 350 at 2,500.
Now that we are ready to take off, let's take a moment to describe the HUD elements that you will use during the takeoff and climb. The three white horizontal lines is the pitch ladder, the top line corresponds to 10 degrees pitch up, the middle line marks level flight, and the bottom line corresponds to a -10 degrees pitch down. Depending on how close you are to the HUD, the top and bottom lines may be out of sight. On the left side is the speed scale, indicating your airspeed in knots. The two numbers above it indicate your angle of attack, and the current G-load. Below the scale, is your current speed in Mach, and nav indicates that the mission computer is currently on navigation mode. On the right side of the HUD, is the altitude scale. The greater than symbol, shows your current barometric altitude in feet. Between both of these vertical scales, is the horizontal heading tape, which shows your aircraft's current heading. On the center of the HUD is the X-axis symbol, which shows where the nose of your aircraft is currently pointing. The small vertical bar that sits between the two small horizontal bars of the X-axis symbol, is the rotation cue. At the beginning of the takeoff roll, the rotation cue is below the horizontal bars and it will creep upwards as we accelerate. When it goes over the horizontal bars, it's time to move the flight stick back to rotate the aircraft. If rotation is not performed, the rotation cue will start flashing, to indicate overspeed. After takeoff, once the landing gear has been retracted, the X-axis symbol will be supplemented by a second symbol, the flight path marker, which shows where your aircraft is actually going. The separation between both symbols represents the current angle of attack of the aircraft. The top of the two vertical poles that are besides the X-axis symbol mark the optimum initial climb angle of 5 degrees that you should use when rotating the Gripen. You should align the nose cross with the top of these poles for your initial climb. We are now ready to take off. Press wheel brakes, increase throttle to military power. As the engine accelerates through 90%, release brakes to prevent skidding the tires. Use the rudder pedals, or Z and X keys, to maintain the aircraft aligned with the runway. Once the rotation cue in the HUD creeps upward, hold back on the control stick to raise the nose. On the air. For optimum initial climb, keep the X-axis symbol between the top of the two vertical poles. Retract the landing gear by clicking the handle. Don't exceed 330 knots with the gear down. The vertical poles will disappear once the gear is fully retracted. You can now increase the pitch angle by placing the X-axis symbol over the 10-degree pitch ladder. If you want, you may set the landing lights to off, even though they will automatically turn off when the gear is retracted, and turn on when it's extended. You may now climb along your planned route and accelerate to cruise speed. Your heading should be 250 degrees, climb speed 350 knots. Adjust pitch trim to attain a 10-degree pitch angle on the HUD. Adjust the throttle, to maintain it. Congratulations! You have managed to taxi, take off, and perform a climb to reach an altitude of 5,000 feet. You have successfully finished this training mission. Press spacebar to end this mission.